you so much, Toastmaster. Reflecting on my path. It's my third path. I keep everything in a file on my computer. I have the titles, but I don't actually have a list of what went to what path. This is my third one. So I started going through it. I don't even know when I started doing speeches for this path. And so I thought, I need to do something a little different. So that's how I ended up with Discoveries of a VPE. When I first joined Toastmasters, we were doing the legacy paths. I mean, like real legacy paths. It was the manuals, and you would take them to, almost like taking them to class. We would take them to the meeting, and your evaluator would do your evaluation in your manual, and you would take it home. But then years ago, we ended up with Pathways online. Well, Jean Tracy, our founder, had been our VPE for a long time, Vice President of Education, and she took care of all the manuals, everything. She was amazing. And then I took over when we did Pathways. Oh, Jean left some really big shoes for me to fill. I hope I'm doing a good job. So what I did was I went through, some of the things that I've learned as a Vice President of Education, but also giving the speeches. When I first started with Toastmasters, I was already a trainer. I had been for years, preschool teacher for over a decade. I was an award-winning instructor. And so I thought, maybe I can help teach people stuff. But what happened was I learned a lot of stuff. I'm still learning, and I love that. I know they say that one of the best ways to learn is to teach. Well, with these paths that I've been doing as an educator with educational speeches, I've been learning a lot, really internalizing things and trying to see things and hear things through your eyes and ears. Number 1, I am a know-it-all bulldozer. That's my personality type. I even did a speech on the know-it-all bulldozer. And I feel so sorry for my fellow officers. And I have for years, although I'm getting much better. See, when I think I know better than other people, I have a hard time letting that go. I really want them to see my point and to agree with me. And all I do is I look over at Lynn and I see her cringe. And I go, so Lynn is my marker. She doesn't need to, don't be sad, Lynn, you're wonderful. I am so happy that you do this. Because you see, on Zoom, you don't feel the room. You don't see other people. You don't get that vibe. And so Lynn gives me her vibe of, okay, Nancy. And I so appreciate you. Thank you. I'm going to get teary. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for diverting the know-it-all bulldozer. I definitely appreciate you. Another thing that I've always found a challenge as an instructor is answering a question with a simple answer. I can take it all over the place. So if you tell me or ask me why Maria should have brought a jacket today, it's because we could have a disaster and she could end up walking home if it was a big earthquake, something else, and she ends up walking home. She's going to be out in the weather. And that could end up being a really long answer. So I'm getting much better. How'd you like that, Maria? Wear your jacket tomorrow. So I'm getting better at making these shorter answers. And part of that is the speech length. You can't, if your audience is asking you a question, you got to keep it short. I'm also not a real big one for following rules or directions, reading directions. I did my taxes. I used to do my taxes without TurboTax. Oh my goodness, 2 times, maybe 3. The IRS wrote back to me and said, you really messed this up and we owe you money. And they sent me checks each time. And finally, we do TurboTax. And the IRS is much happier with me, and I'm much happier with the IRS for that. But I am getting better at reading directions. Even for this speech right here, I read the directions. Now, Maria, I'm picking on you again. I love that you look at the directions. She reads them, she internalizes them. And there are more folks who do that because this experience in Toastmasters is what you make of it. You can go from 0 to 100 and not learn a whole lot, but you can give lots of speeches. But if you go through all of the wonderful information that Toastmasters has, you can learn a lot. And be proud of me, I did that today for this speech. Lynn was talking just before we started this meeting, how having to do a speech, I started this yesterday thinking I was going to give it next week. I didn't know I was going to do it till this morning, but you know what? I slept well last night because speeches are always harder to put together than I think they are. I'm starting to actually start putting it together like a week ahead of time. So check. There's another important discovery that I should actually be a lot more prepared than flying by the seat of my pants. Also, when I get an evaluation and people say, your gestures, you do gestures really nicely. And I never think about my gestures. I never think about my gestures. However, I have gotten feedback. Robert has given me feedback about what do they call them? The submarine gestures that float down here. And so I've been getting much better about putting my gestures in the box. So I have, even on my list here, on my list, you can't even see my list. It says gesture box. I've also discovered that I am a narcissist. I have got to be, because right now, luckily, my picture is right below the camera, so it looks like I'm looking into the camera, but no, I just watch myself the whole time. Oh my goodness. I need to put maybe a picture of me with a hole in it up on my camera. So that's a discovery. I am a narcissist. Also, I've discovered that if you have a lot of notes like this, you probably have too much information, or you don't know your information well enough, and you should probably practice. You should probably chop out a whole bunch of information. I've also realized lately that I love an analogy for giving an informational speech. The last one I gave was about new base camp, and I did it as accessories in your new car and your Toastmasters journey in your car. Oh, that was so cool. And then the one before that, oh no, it's leaving my brain. But giving your speech like you're a server in a restaurant and anticipating what your audience needs. And so that was a great lesson. I'm keeping that one. I learned that in the advanced screen share in Zoom. It's great. You can bring yourself up so that all the slides, the PowerPoint slides are behind you. But in the recording, you are a little thumbnail up in one corner. And I found that was the side where I was giving all my information. So not only did I have this blank area, my little thumbnail was covering up my information. So please remember that, that you'll be that little thumbnail if you use that advanced feature. Katie. I am so happy that you told me that I over-emote. Barb had hinted at this, but I couldn't quite get my brain around it. And it's from all those years of teaching preschoolers and kindergartners that I over-emote. And plus, being in Zoom, I don't get the vibe from my audience that, okay, they've got it. I don't need to really be big in the camera. So thank you for that. And number 11 on my list is the power of 3. The power of 3 is that your audience can only remember 3 things. Their brains can only follow 3 things. They can't follow that train of breadcrumbs all the way up to number 11. So 3, the power of 3, I completely ignored it this time. However, it is a very powerful tool, and most of the time I do follow that advice. These are a bunch of the lessons that I've learned as Vice President of Education, giving all of these educational speeches, because I want them to be fun. I want you to learn. And so it's been really, really good for me to winnow this down and hone my skills. And I appreciate my fellow officers for putting up with me as I learn my lessons. And for you also, I've really, really enjoyed being your Vice President of Education, and I'm ready for more lessons. Thank you.